Cool. So you're able to see my screen properly, right? And I'm audible.
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool. All right. So today we have the 16th session here, and let's just quickly uh, do a recap of what we have done and what we are about to do. So what we have done in the immediate last session was we completed the enemy AI and the player damage. Now, and we like the basic gameplay mechanism that is there, that the enemy can move around, follow the player, uh, navigate in the environment that is set up. Player can shoot the enemy, player can himself die. All those things, basic things are set up. So now next, what we look at are some of these things. We'll see how much we can do in today's session. That's why I'm hoping to complete till spawning of enemies. So here and this concept in the next two sessions. So by next four sessions, we'll be done with this whole thing. And the idea behind going through these small things is not to focus on the just on the shooting game kind of shooting game concepts. It's like these concepts will be used anywhere, like whatever concepts you have learned till now and what you'll learn in the future inside the shooting game as well. They can be used in any game. They can be used in VR development, AR development, small concepts that are there. So it is important that you try to learn them in a general context and not in the context that you'll remember it only when a shooter game is mentioned or an FPS game is mentioned. Try to try to understand the general concept, not the fix of what we are doing. So like when we created an enemy AI, you should try to focus on how nav mesh is created, what is the importance of nav mesh, where else can you use a nav mesh other than enemy AI. Similar for animation, similar for any kind of scripting that we are doing, different components in the scripts that we are learning, specific functions that we are learning. So how can those be used anywhere is what the general idea should be. So today we'll start with, so right now what we have is an enemy who is coming towards you and uh, uh, attacking you, and you can shoot the enemy. So now what we'll try and learn is bullet effects again, and we'll go for this. We'll again go back to the particle effect pack from where we'll take this bullet effect that you see. The when we shoot the enemy, some blood is coming out. So we'll try to replicate this, and then similarly, this is body. Then also, if you've played any games, you'll see that when walls are hit, a bullet leaves a mark there. So we'll try to replicate that. And obviously, we'll approach upon the concept. But when you are actually implementing a big game, so different surfaces can have different kinds of reaction to a bullet. So like a metallic wall will have some kind of a reaction. This concrete wall will have a different reaction. So different particle effects can be created for those. So a glass window or a glass door will have a different reaction. So you can think of those and implement those on your own. Next, we learn about animations. So we right now what we did was copy or get an animation clip from somewhere else and used it in our game. Now we'll actually look at how we can create keyframe animations inside Unity itself, and that we'll do for the pistol that we have. So that and how again creating those animations and how linking with the animator is done all inside Unity. So that we'll have a look at. So that and a few other concepts, smaller concepts inside that are there. And after that, we'll have a look at the concept of ammunition that is there. So ammo, which basically like if you have so basically the general concept is that there's an amount of ammo that maximum ammo that you can carry. Then the gun can carry a maximum amount of ammo, your magazine, and then you can reload it. So reload can be possible till the maximum amount of ammo that you have. And then obviously there are pickup systems. So this is something that we'll learn later, pickup systems. Similarly, we'll after the ammo wala thing, we'll do spawning enemies. Spawning is we have done spawning before. We'll just repeat that concept in this domain. Then the concept of headshot, which we discussed when we are creating the shooting, that we can have different elements. So we'll do this quickly. Then health bar, straightforward. We already have the health of the player, the enemy. We'll see what kind of health bar we'll create. Pickup systems I talked about. Player respawn, we have talked about when we were creating the player health script, that uh, what we'll need to do when we create a player respawn thing. So we'll do that. And then finally, we how to save all this kind of data. And we'll do that, a basic version of that, where we'll save a text file or a CSV file, something like that, inside your your data system in your basically, we'll do it for any system. Basically, you will be able to implement it anywhere. But obviously, there are more complex systems that are there now. Online uh, games are saved and game memory is saved. So a lot of different concepts are there. But we'll do at least a basic version, and then you'll be free to do that. And then after that, we'll be done with this side, and then we'll move on to VR and AR actually. And yeah, so moving on to Unity now. So let's see where we left off last session. And we also need to open the particle pack. So I'll just open this also right now. So first, first time, this is where we have left till now. We are able to shoot, reduce the volume a bit more. And the enemy is following us, the enemy is attacking us. Shoot and kill the enemy. This is something that we'll fix. Actually looks quite nice, but we'll fix this. So let's start with what we want to do today. The first thing that we thought of was the particle system. So for that, we'll go back here and I'll show you which particle system I was talking about. So it's better to have a visual representation of that. So quickly going towards that, I think it's somewhere here. Yeah, this place. So this is basically what we'll be using. So this is a flesh impact. And if you see, it's basically quite like basically what will happen is when you shoot, this kind of thing will decal will show up, and from that decal some blood will show up. So this is something that we'll implement first. Then we can do this kind of a thing, metal impact kind of a thing, because our environment is metallic. Then we also have these kind of thing. So we learn how we can actually implement these. So like I said, different structures will have different kind of impact. So like wood impact is different, stone impact is different, sand impact is different. Do we have anything else here? No. So yeah, so let's start with that. So for that, I've already extracted it, but let me just quickly recap what we did before. So this is the prefab that is there for the blood thing, this thing, and this we want to take this, and for the metallic thing, this is the metal effect. So to basically extract this prefab, what we need to do, if you remember, export this, right? Export package, and with dependencies, and you can select some things that you do not want and what you want. And with this, basically, you export it. So I have already exported this somewhere here. I have already done that. Standard weapons effects. So this all thing the whole thing I've exported. So I'll just import it directly there. So I can close this for now. And here I can just import that. So we have actually changed our subdirectory system. So we have put all the effects under the third-party asset. So what I can do now is basically go to the Show in Explorer page, and again, effect examples with the shared folder can go inside the third-party assets, and I can replace what is already there. Doesn't matter. And the shared meta plus this effect also inside the third-party assets, replace files. And now when I come back here, it'll just recompile once. And now I'll be able to see this thing. So I have flesh, blood impact, flesh, and metal impact. So they're small and there's big effect. So we can start with you can use anyone we want. So for this, what we want to do is basically in our pistol script. So the script that was controlling the pistol is where uh, I think we created a script name as shoot script. So this is the script that we'll use. So inside this script, we'll add some code where basically because this is where we are shooting the player, right? Shooting the player or the wall. So we have those lines of code set up. So let me just open this quickly. Right. So in this, what we already have set up is that when we uh, shoot, it is checking if it is an enemy or it is not an enemy. If it is an enemy, then the enemy gets shot. If it is not, then we are just doing debug.log for now. So we thought that we'll come up here and do something else later, right? So this is where we can now at least put some effects. So for that, what we'll do is we'll create new variables, and we'll create two variables. Let's name this bullet impact effect and public game object. One would be blood effect. This will be on the enemy, and then another would be public game object. Uh, let's call it wall effect. This will be for the wall. Why we have made it public? Because we want the reference in the inspector so that we can actually apply which one do we want to apply it, which effects do we want to apply when that happens. So now what we want to do is when this happens, we can come here and use this instantiate. Inside instantiate, it will be straightforward. Wall effect is what person, not wall effect. Here, when it is an enemy, we want to should be where this hit is happening, right? So this hit is happening at hit dot point. So this is hit dot point is a function that we get where basically it is pointing to the impact point in world space where the ray hit the collider. So this is the position that we want to use. We are not setting a parent, we are setting a position and a rotation. So if you remember, instantiate has a lot of different overloads. One of the overload is this one, which we are going to use. The object that you want to instantiate, the position and the rotation. And for rotation, we can just do identity rotation, and that is done through quaternion dot identity. So that's all that needs to be done here. We'll come and set it up later. Let's go back and see if this is actually working. So blood effect may inside our shoot script, which is in our player capsule, this shoot script. In the blood effect, let's put a small effect for now. Let's see if this works. You can see that it is working. It looks a bit weird, and also you see this thing is staying there for a bit too long, right? So like I'm shooting here, then this decal thing is staying there for too long, and it's looking weird because the collider is here, not the collider is not there. So we want the like we can later fix this, but for now what we can do is at least reduce the time of this. How do we do that? Is we'll go to the effect, and inside the effect there's a script attached, decal destroyer. So in this we can change the time of this from 5 to maybe zero point 0.2 or something. So like very small time. And then obviously we can also change the color of the whole thing. And I think the effect is coming a bit weird. Let us see the uh, inspector, maybe change the direction a bit. Let's make it 0. Let's see if this is better. It's coming towards the side and not to the front. So instead of 0, let's make it 90 or maybe 270, because that way it will come towards our side. I don't think it's fixed yet, but anyway, it looks okay right now. More like obviously you can concept remains and you can fix it uh, as you want, as you would want. So now next let's fix this thing quickly. The enemy dead, and after that we'll set up the wall effect. And in this thing, this is basically a particle effect only. So whatever you want to change in the particle effects, this thing, and if you want to change the material, what kind of emission should be there, what should be the color, all those things can be changed, right? So like this is the material that's actually uh, uh, coming out of it. If you want to change the color of it to something else, green looks fine to me. But if you want to change that, if you want to change the time for which the this thing is happening, if you want to do anything like that, you can change the particle effect. Right now, we're not discussing particle effect, but it is a particle effect, and you can change whatever you want, as similar to uh, the bullet casing and all those things that we muzzle flash, which we talked about before. Next, what we want to do is the dead wala thingy. So for that, there are a few methods that we can implement. Uh, One thing that we have, which is straightforward, is I guess mm, inside the enemy AI script we have this, which is the bull is dead. So if this is dead is false, uh, mm, then only this is basically what we can do here. If uh, not is dead, then only with the should take place this whole thing. Otherwise, it is not required. So this should easily fix it. So now, what is happening is basically I can still see the blood effect, but the animation is not changing. But what I would want is maybe not even the blood effect to work. So, or that is fine because if there is a body, blood effect should work. But there is another way that we can do the same thing. We'll also look at that quickly. So if I don't do this, basically, And in enemy health also I have I can create a reference here. So I can create one reference here, public bool is enemy dead. So this is where the animation script is being called, right? This enemy AI, this enemy death animation is being called from here on enemy death animation. So we can come here and basically stop that function itself. This whole function actually we can stop, like the detect health, nothing would work after that. So we can come here and public uh, the is enemy dead. Inside the enemy dead, we can make uh, is enemy equals to true, and this whole thing would work only if enemy is enemy dead is false. So if enemy is not dead, then only all these things should be implemented, right? Similarly, what we can do more is basically uh, right now, if I go back, at least that thing will work as it is. So like when I pull it off, so this thing, the animation has stopped. But oh, by the way, I forgot to uh, tell you why actually that was happening. So let us quickly go back to this and let it happen, and let us see why that weird thing was happening. That was because it was animating weirdly. But let us quickly see that. So if you remember, this is the animator that we created. And for now, what I'll do is the damage enemy, I'll make it 50 so that we can quickly see those changes and not have to shoot the enemy 10 times for everything. So if you remember, this is the animator that we had created. Let's now play the game. If I shoot the enemy, one, two, dies. And basically this is what's happening. If you see here, the sorry, I had to choose this. Oh, sorry, so let me just be on this so that this plays when you can, then you can actually visualize why that is happening. So if you see right now, it's walking. When I come close, it starts attacking, and when I shoot it, it died and did the fallback animation. So now what happens when I keep shooting, that fallback animation keeps playing again and again. So basically, to make that jump kind of animation stop, what we are doing is basically that animation should not play. So this whole deal where we are doing this is enemy dead is for the animation not to play. But that is what we can do at different stages. This was the first stage. This was the very lowest level where we could have applied it. But if we apply it just here, then we can't control it at other places, because this is here where we are just controlling the animation. But here we can actually control if the whole system of the enemy being shot and the enemy's health being deducted can be controlled. So this is where we are controlling that. And now from this system, because we have created it here from enemy health, we can actually go to other places and also control that. So how do we do that? Is one way to do that is, what we want to do is this should not work, right? Enemy, uh, this should not work. Yeah, the blood effect should also not work if the enemy is dead. So what we can do is one way to do that is, sorry about that. One way to do that quickly is to just make this public bool static, and here I can write an if statement if because it is a static object now, so I can do enemy health dot is enemy dead and not again. So what it is checking is if enemy is not dead, then only this will instantiate. Otherwise, this will not instantiate, right? But I'll tell you why this is not the correct way of doing it. Quickly, we'll come to that because with this, what will happen? It works. So this enemy is dead, and when now it is not going to do the animation or the blood effect, right? But why this is not the correct way of doing that properly is because let's say if I have multiple enemies and this thing is referring to the enemy health script. So how does the shoot script know which enemy is this referring to, right? So this will be a problem for us because this being a static variable, if it is available to multiple enemies, it will instantly just not do this, right? So what we can instead do is basically instead of doing it like this, we can basically get a uh, uh, from our hit dot transform. So just check which if the enemy that we are hitting is that enemy dead or alive. So what we can do is hit dot transform. For this, from this we get which enemy or which basically because we are inside enemy, so which enemy we are hitting, and if that enemy get component uh, enemy health. So from that we can get the component enemy health, and is inside that enemy health is enemy dead. Is enemy we won't be able to get that this way, I guess, because uh, this is now because of when we are doing it like this, when we want to get the component like this, then this won't work. We'll have to basically change it back from static to non-static again, and then we can do this. And then now again, not second, this anyway. So now going back here, so this will right now it will function the same way, but when we add more enemies, this is more efficient way of doing this. That animation has stopped and blood effect has stopped, right? So I hope you understand why it is better to do it this way and not the other way. So this way we are able to check which enemy are we hitting and is that enemy dead or alive. The other static way we were only checking if any enemy is dead, then this won't instantiate. Great. So now moving on to what do we want to do next? We want to, oh, we did not do the wall effect thing. So let's quickly do the wall effect. So wall effect may we'll go here and just similarly for the wall effect, we can just instantiate wall effect, hit point, quaternary dot identity, all those things, right? So now let's go to the layer similar to wall effect, but here this will be a bit of a challenge right now is when I shoot here, it's not showing up. The wall effect has not been assigned right now. So let us quickly do that. Wall effect, wall effect, wall effect. Metal effect is what we are using for the wall effect. So if you see this, when I shoot here, I am able to see the wall effect. I shoot here, it's visible. I shoot here, it starts showing up. So why this is happening is because it is being instantiated here, everywhere it is being instantiated, but the direction is not proper. So in this case, we won't be able to use the quaternion dot identity. So we'll have to use we when it is instantiated, we have to choose a direction when it is instantiated to the normal, like whenever it is instantiated, we want to change the direction. in the forward direction to the normal of the hit point. So wherever the hit point is, the normal of that hit point. So we'll have a function here which we can use. So we'll change this, and inside quaternion, we have a function called rotation from to rotation, sorry, not rotation from to rotation. And in this we define from. So from would be vector3 dot forward, vector3 dot forward, and 2 would be hit dot normal. So note this. So what this is doing, from to rotation, what it does is creates a rotation which rotates from direction to direction. So this is the from direction, which vector3 is just 0, 0, 1, and normal is the normal of the surface the ray hits, right? So this is where we want to rotate it to. So when we now do it, now it will, whenever it instantiates, it's immediately able to instantiate on any surface. So you see this also got instantiated. This instantiated. So anywhere you shoot now, it will get instantiated. But right now also it is not perfect. Like I said, we have different things, like this is a glass. So this is not how the glass should react. So for this we can have something else. So this I don't think it even has a collider. It's not instantiating there. This area is a different area. So that can have something else, right? So depending upon which area it is, what tag it has, we can again inside this, what we can do is we can have multiple if statements inside the cell statement, and we can check if that tag of that, like we are checking tag enemy here, we can have is it a wall, is it a roof, is it the glass, and we can have different conditions for this as well. So I hope this is clear, and with this we complete our first point for today, which is the bullet effects. Now we'll move on to creating the animations. So for creating animations, we want to be here, and inside here, let us first understand what a keyframe animation is. And for that, I will quickly open, we will Google it, keyframe animation. I not search it already, Unity. So this thing. So this is actually quite a good guide, and you should go through this once. This is basically telling us what a keyframe animation is. So, and how we can do that in Unity. It's a good guide of doing that. So this is what we'll see right now as well. We'll go through this, right? So not really anything here, unless this is what we'll be creating. Animation clips are one of the core animation elements of Unity's animation clips. So till now we had imported animation clips, but now we create an animation clip and see how that works. So let's quickly just start with it. And for that, the first thing what needs to be done is let's create a new folder where we store our animations and animator and everything. So inside this only we put this one also, and inside here again we'll create a new folder. We'll call it enemy or zombie. So this is where we can store the animations that we have already created. And then inside this, we can have a new folder for weapons. Why we are naming it weapons? Because we can have multiple weapons like assault rifle, sniper rifle, and we can have those animations. But right now we only have a pistol, and I do not plan to include more weapons. So we'll only keep it as weapons. We can, another folder can be created here inside, which will be pistol or handgun or whatever, right? So once this is done, we need to open. This is an animator window, and we talked about what is an animator window. Now we'll see an animation window. So this here we can do animation, and this is the animation window. If you see, it's basically a timeline. This is what we'll be using to create the animations. So now let's start right away. And where is our gun? Our gun is inside the main camera. So we'll be basically animating the gun and we'll create a few animations, which would be something like mm, recoil and loading of gun, reloading of gun, shooting of gun, things like that. So we'll create two, three small animations quickly, and then we'll see how those work and what are the different things are there. So let's create our first animation, which we'll do from here. So to begin animating the this prefab. So this is the prefab that it's asking us to animate and create an animator and an animation clip. So when I click on create, look at what happens here. Okay, so this right now is empty. When I click on create, this opens up a folder for me and it opens up this folder only for me because I have this open here. So the first thing that we create is a recoil uh, animation. So see what it did for us was it created an animator for us and it added an animator controller in it and it created an animation for us, which is the recoil animation, right? So it created one animator, it added the animator to the prefab, and it created a recoil animation clip for us. And now this animation clip is what we'll use here. So in this animation clip, what actually can be done is basically we can animate this gun uh, by using some properties, and we'll use very basic properties like the transform properties of the gun. And in the transform property, there are three things, as you know: position, rotation, and scale. So for recoil, basically what happens is the position, like the gun basically goes back and it goes up a bit. So in normal, this is what a recoil is. If you fire, it will basically back. Recoil is basically the gun goes a bit back and it tilted up. So that is what we'll do. And for that, we'll use the position. And another thing is rotation. And how does this work is when I added these properties, you see that it is adding some points here, right? So these are the keyframes. These are this is what is basically the majority of points that some event inside the animation will happen. So this is a timeline, and by default, it is a 1 second timeline. So it starts from 0 to 1. So this is a 1 second timeline. I can obviously, if I want, I can, when I press Control and scroll down, I can change it to 2 second, 3 second, 4 second. But right now for the uh, recoil, I don't wish to go beyond 1 second. So I can keep it here itself. Or I can I'm just keeping it to this itself, right? So next what we want to do is basically in recoil, we just want to do one thing is two things is basically the position, change the position a bit and change the rotation a bit. And where do we want to do it? Let's say in the middle of the 1 second clip. So here what we'll do to change the position, I'll just go here and take it up. But before, like, how do I record that? How do I record that when the recoil, when this thing happens, when this thing plays, what should happen? So I have a record button here. So when I click on record, this becomes red. And now whatever I do is being recorded here. So the position will be recorded, rotation will be recorded, and it's all going to come here. So what I want at point 0.3, like 0.5 inside the 1 second frame. So at 30 millisecond, what I want to do is take the gun a bit up. So I can also see it here what is happening. So just a little bit up, right till here. And at the same point, I also want to rotate it a bit, right? So these two things I want to happen. And I guess, yeah, that's it. For recall, this is it. So now what I can do is I can try to play what happens. So this is my recoil. You see it in slow speed. This is how it looks, right? But recoil generally won't be this, like it won't take 1 second to recoil. So what we can do is bring it down. So now to reduce this, to shift this inside the timeline, you can select, if I select a specific thing like this and make sure that the record is on. If I turn off record, then whatever changes I make There, I don't remember if it's still stored, but generally good practice would be to turn the record. But this thing would still work. But when you the created keyframes will still, like, wherever you move them will still move, but you won't be able to create new key points. Like if I do this now, no point is created, and my basically gun just moved in the real world, right? So what I want to do whenever I want to create a new point, then a record button should be on. But if I want to just move around, then record button necessarily does not have to be on, but it's just generally a good practice that when you're creating animations, keep the record button on. So now if I want, I can move a specific, just the rotation, or I can move the whole thing by using this thing. If I click on this, all the components inside and that timeline will be selected, and I can move this around here. So I can move this here, and my end of the clip should not be at 1 second. Instead, I can bring it to 20 second, 0.2. So now this is what a recoil, if better fast, right? So I can use this. So that's about recoil. Now let's quickly create few more of these. After recoil, let's create a new clip, which will be reload. So So for creating a new clip, we go here and create a new clip, and all the other clips inside this specific prefab will be here only. So for reload, we'll do quite a bit of things, and let's just start the record itself. And so if you remember, last time I added a property, but this time I'm not adding a property. What I'll do is at around 10, I will increase the height. Right. So what it did, what was it added a start component to the property itself. But if I don't do it like this, and I add a property, which is the position, then it will create a start as well as an end. So I want that. So better to have that, right? Start and end both. So, and start and end both should be the same, like zeroth or whatever the original property, original position, transform and rotate are. So I also want rotation. We'll never not use scale right now. So at around reload may at around, let's say, bring it between only. So at around 30, I want not at around 30, maybe around 20, say 15. I want it to go up, and I want it to go quite a bit up. So I can, whatever I'm doing here, I can see changes in the game view in the real world as well. In the during I'm doing this, but it's not really changing anything because when record is open, it's only changing here. If I quick click on turn off record, it will basically bring it back where to its original position. Not right now because it's just because right now I'm on the animation, so animation is playing in the game view, but generally it is recording the real position. So record again on, and I want to, yeah, this is going to be here, but this thing I want to change to here. So that's quite a bit high. And what I want to do is basically take it up, rotate. So take it up here, and then again after at here, I want to rotate it. So rotate it a bit, maybe this much, and then about here, I want to remove the magazine. So for removing the magazine, I'll have to select the magazine component specifically, and then I want to remove it. So let's go here. And for, like, if I'm removing the magazine, I'm changing the magazine. I also want to bring it back to its original position. So for that, what I'll do is when I have not removed the magazine yet, or I can go to the start position and take the original position of the magazine. So I want the Y position of the magazine, right? So I'll take the Y position of the magazine and somewhere around here, I will remove it. So removing it basically means that it goes out of scene, and then somewhere here, I want it back. So all I can do is basically just put the original value back, and it's back inside. The magazine is back inside the gun. So what this looks like is basically this. And if I see it in my game view, this is what it'll look like. It comes up, magazine, but I'm not able to see the magazine coming back. So I can change the keyframes a bit. I can reduce this to 10. I can bring it to 15, and this can happen earlier. Yeah, this makes more sense. So it's ejecting, coming back. So this looks okay, and I can stop. And obviously I can reduce this time as well, maybe 40. Or what I can actually do is increase the hold time and keep it at 2, and rotation and position switching can be at the same thing. So that happens around somewhere around, or let me just maintain this. So this happens somewhere around 130, ejected somewhere around 1, and rotation and this thing happens somewhere around 30. So let's see how that looks. Yeah, this looks better. Maybe if I can just increase the position a bit more here, if I can increase the height while I'm here inside this. Let's see how that looks. Oh, that didn't work the way I wanted it to. Oh, sorry. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to play the animation of reload. Actually, the eject is happening too late. So quickly fix that a bit. Clean this. Yeah, this looks okay for now. And obviously it'll never be perfect. And obviously I'm not an animator, but this is the general concept. So for us, for now, it's fine. So reload is fine. Next, let's create one more animation, which will be our shooting animation. So shooting would have a few more things inside it than just the magazine coming out, which happened in robot. So let's call it shoot. And inside shoot, what we want to do, we'll do a few things here. So let's just add the property first. So transform, and so to add the first and last transform at about 10, I want to add transform of for the what we want to do at about not about 10, about 5. We want to rotate this like the trigger is supposed to be pressed. So go to trigger, go to rotate. You can add the properties of the subcomponents from here as well. So slide ka, not the slide, we want the triggers rotate rotation. So in trigger rotation, have a look at this. This thing is what's supposed to change. So uh, you see when I'm changing the rotation, the position is also changing. Why that is happening is because right now it is happening, the rotation is happening from the center. What I want to do is basically change the pivot. So I can go here and change this from the center point to the pivot point. So this basically takes it here. So now when the pivot has changed, and if I rotate now, it only rotates the trigger as it should. It does not do any translation. So I have not started recording it. So let us do that. And I want to take the original value because I want to bring it back later. So here I will rotate it, and let's say somewhere later when everything has happened, I bring it back. Right. So this thing is done. Now, next what we want is this thing, the hammer that is there. This should to come back. This also would come back. And for that, let's add the property of the hammer, and this also just rotate. So hammer, we want to add, yes, right after the trigger is pressed. So somewhere here, and this thing is will come maybe till here. And when the trigger is released, with that, it can also go back. So I forgot to take the original value. So which we can do when we go here, when to the start, all the values are original values. So hammer original value and go back to original value when the trigger ending is happening, right? And next, what we want to quickly add is the slider. So this thing, the slider, sorry, I did a mistake. I did choose something else. Shoot. So inside this, we want to add the slider next. So for that, we will choose from here slide, transform, and this would be position. We want to bring the slider back. So let's choose the slide and rotate this thing. And when this has already happened, so this will come back, and when the trigger is left, then it can go back to its original position. So let's bring original position. What did we change? We changed the uh, Z value. I think we changed the Z value. This hammer is selected here. I want to see slide. Oh, we did not record this, so that's the problem. Can delete it and press on record. Then about here, slide, take the slide back till maybe here. And now let's see what is changing. Mostly the Z value is changing. For some reason, Y is also changing a bit. I think because it's slanted, that's why. But about here, we can shift the Z back to its original position, somewhere about here. Right, so this is what the animation looks like right now. I think we did not record the hammer as well. So hammer has to, this is my trigger rotation. This is my slide, and this is where I can add the hammer again. Rotation of the hammer, we did not record it. So this can start right away itself with the trigger press only. But right here, what I like, if you see the animation, basically what it's creating is even though I started the slide animation from here till here, slide is already completely back, right? So I can basically do that somewhere here. So I think I should start it from here and about till here, it should be in its original position. So let us take its original position, which is minus 0.35, and till about here, let it be there only. And about here, we'll add the rotate the hammer. Original position of hammer, rotating it on the x-axis, and somewhere with the here, again bring it back. It already is there, I guess, but it's just not the point. Copy hammer. Uh, Very uh, fluid, like it would should be. But yeah, am I audible or something happened with my headphones?
No,
Am
you're
I
audible,
still
sir.
audible to you guys?
Yes, sir.
Second. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay, okay,
We can hear you, sir.
okay. Great, great, great. So yeah, so you see, this is not very perfect. It's not very fluid, obviously, but uh, this is the concept of how to do it. I'm not very great at it, but that like right now, what is happening is one thing, and then, but you can make it more fluid as per the requirement. So like just to see, maybe if I shift this back more, maybe even more, bit more fluid, I guess, but not exactly. And maybe shifting it till here and in the end here. So yeah, for now, this is fine with me. And this is our final animation. That's how it's going to be. Next, what we want to do is, sorry, uh, create one more animation, which would be an idle animation. And then we'll set up the animations inside the animator and stuff. So I think about 1 hour is up from when we started. So we can take a quick break of 5 minutes. Stop recording.